Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to share with you perspective from several XRP chart analysts, including one who says that it would be weird, literally, that's a quote, weird if XRP doesn't run to at least $20 this market cycle. So got some thoughts on that. And by the way, it certainly wouldn't be crazy. Also some perspective on Bitcoin, because it, of course, leads the way. A little bit of concern in the short term from one of the analysts who I would say is the best out there. And in my opinion anyway, the best analyst I've seen in targeting short-term price action, which is notoriously difficult. But even so, even if we see some negative price action, which of course would bring down XRP and the rest of the market, doesn't change what happens on a higher time frame, big picture. The expectation is still that, of course, XRP and Bitcoin and the rest of the asset class running to ultimately new highs, face melt, the whole 9 yards. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 4:43 p.m. Central Time, Sunday, October 6, 2024. XRP price at 53 cents. So wouldn't you know, here we are, several days after the news that the SEC is appealing the decision from Judge Torres in the SEC v. Ripple case. And as I've been saying, this is a big nothing, which is ultimately what I expected for the weeks and actually months even leading up to this. I said, if there's an appeal, it's, even if the market takes a little bit of a dip, it's not going to matter. And it took a smaller dip than what I would have guessed had I made a guess. I mean, think about it. XRP was at 56 cents when that news hit. It's at over 53 cents now, several days later. Nobody cares, okay? If you're concerned about XRP being held back by that news event, stop worrying. The proof is on your screen. XRP is 53 cents. That means that XRP speculators on a global scale do not give a damn. The tiny percentage of people that sold, first of all, that only happened for an hour and a half. Then the panic selling stopped for an hour and a half. Whereas with the news when the lawsuit against Ripple dropped several years ago, the panic selling pursued for a week, a whole week, dropping about 80%. For this, it's about an hour and a half. So this was only a small people, like a handful of people the world over, very small percentage of humans that were panicked when, frankly, in my opinion, you probably shouldn't have been, not for that news event anyway. But to each their own, everybody can do what they want to do. Bitcoin at $62,571, and we have the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 50 out of 100, so market's feeling a bit neutral. As for XRP, look, like I said, this is my opinion. I'm just a dude on the internet. There's nothing special about me, but I'll tell you my thoughts. Since you clicked on my video, happy to share. But I don't believe for a moment that if there's an alt season, appeal or not, I don't believe for a moment that if there is an alt season that XRP is going to sit on the sidelines. That does not make sense. XRP has regulatory clarity. It's been consolidating for literally almost 7 years. Every metric that has historically been an incredible indicator for great things to come, it's there. To think that XRP just won't because reasons, it's really stupid. It just doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And I think that charting guy kind of hits that idea, in a rather compelling fashion. He's correct here. So here, even XRP USD chart, and he wrote the following. For people asking me when XRP will moon, or is it over, etc., I will repeat for the millionth time, XRP and other lagging altcoins will do nothing significant until Bitcoin breaks into price discovery. And I'll just pause to note, that historically is correct. Because that is what, Bitcoin leads the way. That's what happens, then XRP goes. And then leading up to that point, all the people that get impatient, either you're going to make it through that somehow, or you're going to panic sell. But those are the options. That really is pretty much it. And then if you can't handle volatility, people get afraid and they get shaken up. But that's what it is. And if you can't handle that, good luck in the most volatile asset class that mankind has ever seen, because that's what you're in right now if you're in crypto. And XRP has been on one hell of a ride. one of the most, probably the most ridiculous ride in terms of what's happened to it in the real world, as well as the volatility and the lack of hitting a new all-time high because of real world events last market cycle. It's the most ridiculous story out of any coin in existence. I haven't heard of anything more ridiculous than what's happened with XRP. Here we are living through it, but we're better for it at the end because XRP is legal clarity. And on the cusp of an incredible bull run, probably. That would be my guess anyway. But I've never seen anything like this. So I can understand how people get shaken out. But all that happened, and think about it, XRP's still in the top 10 coins by market cap. It just doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me to be bearish on it here. So I'm a charting guy here. Anyway, he continues though. He says XRP will range between 43 and 67 cents until then. Monthly Bollinger Bands continue to tighten. And if you're looking at the screen, you can see what he's talking about. It's these bluish, what would you call it color? It's roughly bluish, the line above and below where the price action is. That is narrowing. Now, Bollinger Bands don't indicate, which way an asset, in this case XRP, is going to break. But the tighter Bollinger Bands get, the greater the force with which you can expect a pop. And this is the tightest it's ever been. Given we're in a bull market, I find it unlikely that when it does break that it'll be to the downside. I'm certainly anticipating the big break will be to the upside, but something's going to happen. Bollinger Bands do indicate volatility regardless of what asset you're talking about. And then he says a monthly close above the top band currently at 67 cents, and we moon. A monthly close below the lower band currently at 43 cents, and we die. Womp womp, sad panda. So like I can appreciate him putting that in there, but he, just to be clear, does not think that's remotely probable. And then he says these bands will continue to tighten until a decision is made. Other than that, we just keep chopping. All my targets and timeframes for all coins remain the same. And so look, you may not like that we've been consolidating this long. You may be impatient. You may be tired of all this. The market does not care, let me assure you. It's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to go when it's going to go, and either you're there and have exposure when it happens, or you don't. But just because it hasn't happened, and it feels like it's going on forever, that logically does not mean that it's just never going to happen. Humans feel that way, and then they make important financial decisions based on the feels. That is the bad way to invest, in my humble opinion. But people do it. Then there's this from chart analyst Javon Marks. He said, since 2022, XRP has confirmed multiple hidden bull divergences, and only time is looking to be in the way of a bull breakout from the pictured pennant pattern. A bull break can lead to a greater than 5.4x in an over 450% bull run back to the $3.30 plus levels, but that may only be the start. So that doesn't sound unreasonable to me. I just keep thinking about what ETH has done, and the reason I keep going back to ETH is because it was XRP and ETH both vying for that number 2 spot in the 2017 / early 2018 bull run, and XRP did have that slot briefly. There were a few moments in time, and I look at what ETH did from one cycle to the next, and then obviously XRP did not even hit a new all-time high because of the interference from the SEC. But why would you not think that's possible? And there's going to be way more, look, if we have a pop, there's going to be way more money flowing through the crypto asset class this time than there was 4 years ago. So why couldn't XRP do more than a 3x? There's historic precedent for that in terms of where that would put XRP in terms of market cap and the amount of money that would need to flow in to bid the price up to reach that market cap. It's totally plausible. There's nothing crazy about that whatsoever. And I do my best to stay grounded in reality. And so, of course, to be clear, that's not me making a prediction. I'm not a chart guy, so it would be disingenuous for me to do so. But that's my general thought. Of course, I think about this stuff like everybody else. Is that crazy? I want to live in reality. I don't think that's remotely crazy. I think there's a reasonable chance something like that might occur. There's also this post from Crypto Insight UK. And he said, I will say, recent price action for XRP isn't awful. Sentiment is shot and XRP hasn't capitulated. We still have had the filing of an ETF, potentially two. We have swell in just over a week. Also, a very outside chance we could see and settle a very outside chance we could see an SEC settlement. He means an SEC settlement, although that would be a shock. Okay. As far as the SEC settlement, I'm going to make a separate video about that, so not commenting on it here. That's probably going to be my very next video. I have plenty to say on that. And as well as perspective from attorneys, by the way. But as far as the ETF and swell, These are great things to talk about if you're, getting at fundamental things that are important within the XRP ecosystem. So totally fair for him to mention those there. Now, if you're talking about those types of things for the short term, and not that he is, but if you were, then I'd push back a bit and say, well, I don't think that's quite what drives it, which kind of brings us to the next XRP analyst here. Here from the Crypto Basic expert says it would be weird if XRP doesn't hit $20 this bull run. And so they're talking about perspective from a YouTuber and analyst called The Modern Investor, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I remember listening to him before I launched my YouTube channel. But so I agree with him on a number of things, and there's certain things where I don't. As far as it being weird if XRP doesn't hit $20, I'll explain to you why he said that in just a second here. But I don't think it would be weird if XRP did not get to at least $20. Now, I do think that could happen. I'm not going to make a prediction, but it wouldn't be crazy if XRP hit $20. I would certainly agree if he would say that. Could it? I mean, is it reasonable to think it might? Sure. Yeah, that's not crazy at all. There's stuff like that happens in crypto. Even at a starting point with XRP, as much money is already in it at this point, after a little over a decade. But I would say this. To me, it would be... here's the caveat, though. If we're going to have a proper alt season, it would be weird to me. I have a much lower threshold, but I'm just trying to be as grounded as possible. It would be weird to me if XRP didn't hit at least a new all-time high. And if that's all it did and only went slightly above that, I'd be disappointed. I would be. Most certainly, I'd be disappointed. But it would be weird to me if it didn't at least do that. Am I hoping and thinking it's probably going to go higher if we have an alt season? Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm counting on it just like everyone else that's listening if you're an XRP holder. And none of us know what's going to happen, but certainly hope that. But what were the reasons that were cited here? So I listened to the video clip that's being referenced in this article. It's not really necessary to read it. And just a couple thoughts on this. So he cited the deflationary nature of XRP, because with every single transaction, a little bit of XRP is burnt. I don't think that's going to be ever something that's consequential for XRP, certainly not in our lifetimes. And I have reasons. Let me just briefly explain this. So without going into great details, I actually have covered a specific analysis for this once or twice on my channel. It's probably been a really long time at this point. But, even over half a decade ago, people were talking about, okay, since XRP is deflationary, if it keeps getting used, eventually the supply runs out. Because it's all burnt. With every single transaction, a tiny bit of it's burnt. So how long would that take? And my recollection, and admittedly I'm pulling from memory here, but my recollection is that there was somebody who did an analysis, and they were thinking, okay, if XRP is widely adopted, like beyond our wildest dreams, what would that look like? And they put some numbers out there that were pie in the sky stuff in terms of transactions. And the conclusion was based on the math and the number of transactions in that really just ridiculously adopted scenario. It would still take thousands of years for us to run out of XRP in that scenario where it's the most adopted you could possibly imagine, because almost no XRP is burnt per transaction. So I don't believe for a moment that that's something that's going to impact in terms of supply and demand in any perceivable way the price action of XRP. You're not gonna notice anything from that. It's way, way, way too small. In fact, they cite in this article that out of the 100 billion max supply there ever could be from XRP, only 12 million has been burnt. Now, 12 million may sound like a lot to you, but out of 100 billion after over a decade, and actually, let me go down and make sure that was the number that I read here. I'm almost certain that's what they said. I don't want to give you bad information, though. As approximately 12.88 million XRP tokens have been burned from its maximum. Okay, yeah. So 12 million, I know that might sound like a lot. That's a tiny percentage. I should have just crunched it, whatever the percentage is before recording, but I assure you, it's almost nothing. It's absolutely almost nothing. You might as well round down to zero. So even if you have it way more adopted, like this is not a factor, and sure as hell not for this bull run. Now, I would argue that this fact matters way more if you're interested in investing in a token when it's down based on fundamentals, because if you're like me and you believe that long-term, the coins that are actually useful and have good fundamentals are the ones that are going to persist, well, yeah, that would be one thing you could consider, certainly. And then another thing that he cited was the ETF. And so I would agree that's something that would be impactful over the long haul. for XRP. You know, if you're talking about a span of years and decades, but not for this particular market cycle. I mean, look at what happened with the Bitcoin ETF. I mean, people thought that it was never going to stop running once those ETFs were launched, and then we hit a peak in March. You know, and frankly, the ETFs, even though wildly successful, and that is fair to say, the Bitcoin ETFs absolutely successful, not denying that, it was not a big enough percentage of overall Bitcoin volume globally to drive it to these crazy heights that some are speculating. So to think that it would be any different with XRP, I think is silly. But I do believe that it matters tremendously over a span of years and decades. So yeah, those are key fundamentals. That's all well and good. I'm just saying, if you're talking this market cycle, that's all. So I agree with them that those are important. I'm just saying, if you think it matters in the short term for this market cycle, I respectfully disagree. But I get the optimism and why you'd think that XRP could go as high as $20. I just don't think it would be weird if it didn't. I also would not be the least bit surprised if it does go that high. I will not be surprised at all. So you guys let me know what you think on that. Now, a little brief warning. Let's end this video on a low note. Let's go straight to the gutter and be as negative as possible before we wrap this up. Right? That's how you do it, right? There was this post from Chart Analyst Credible Crypto, Bitcoin USD chart. And he said, "Local highs taken. Let's see if we go for the lows now." And he's pointing into the green box towards the bottom. For those of you look at the screen, you can see that he's looking for Bitcoin to hit the upper 40,000s, maybe even the mid 40,000s, down as low as close to $45,000. Now, that might sound impossible, but people were saying that back in March. Oh, 40,000s, we're never going to see that again. And on August 5th, we got down to $49,000. So just 2 months ago, we were at $49,000. He thinks there's a really good chance that we could go that low, not guaranteed. He doesn't have that strong a conviction, but he has some conviction that there's a really good chance, at least, that it could happen. And he's got a high hit rate when it comes to this stuff, but that's not the end of the world, just to be clear. To him, if anything, that would be a good chance to long the thing, I'm sure, because he has high conviction, very high conviction, in fact, that we are going to see new all-time highs and Bitcoin exceeds $100,000. He still believes XRP gets up to over $10 this market cycle. And so somebody wrote to him, though, and said, "You are really calling for sub $50,000 in November, bro?" Incredible Crypto respondent said, "Yes. I also have a near 90% hit rate for the last 2 months." And so indeed, this is the analyst I was referencing at the outset of the video, and he does have a great hit rate, and he's particularly accurate. He's the most accurate I've ever seen for short-term price action. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Even if he's correct in assuming via analysis that this is the most probable of outcomes, sometimes the improbable happens. So we'll see what happens, but it doesn't change anything big picture. Plenty of reason to be excited, and I'm still at peak excitement. Like, for me, it would, using the word weird, it would be weird to me if we didn't have enough liquidity injected into the market that stocks rise higher. We see a greater breadth and expansion in the stock market, which historically is always correlated with an alt season. It would be weird to me if that didn't happen, for tons of reasons that I've been articulating throughout this entire year, frankly. That would be weird to me. I think there's going to be an alt season this market cycle. It's going to happen. So whether it really picks up this quarter, which I think is plausible to suppose, or even if it's early 2025, nobody knows for sure, but I've got my exposure. I'm going to be here if and when it happens. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.